Hello Werx fans, and welcome to another edition of Modeling News Around the World. This week, again, not a whole lot of news, but one of the interesting things is I did get some more information about the new movie coming out of China called The Wandering Earth, and looks like it's going to be a pretty neat movie, and it's going to have a lot of different vehicles in it, which Trumpeter has already said that they're going to do a collaboration with them to come out with some of the models of the vehicles. I just found out that Meng is actually doing the same thing, and they have released some computer video or computer models of some of the vehicles they are going to intend to do. And the first one is the IFV cargo truck, or an IFV and cargo truck. So those ones will actually be hopefully coming out pretty soon. The IFV is actually in 1/35th scale, and the giant cargo looking truck is going to be 1/100th, which is the same scale as the Trumpeter kit is supposed to be. So we'll see if they're actually the same kit or actually different molds. Both look very interesting. There's another picture I found showing two of the vehicles parked next to each other. There are some other vehicles I've seen pictures of, but they're not real clear pictures, so we'll see what happens, and I will get those to you whenever I find out. Still don't have a release date of that. I'm not sure when they're going to wrap that up, but looks like it's going to be kind of a neat modeling opportunity for these companies to do different vehicles. So that's about it for the news around the world. So now we will go to future kit releases. Hello again, Werx fans, and welcome to new kit releases for this week. And we've got a few new ones coming out. A company called Freedom Models, which is a fairly new company, is coming out with a CM37 MGS eight-wheeled vehicle. Looks to be a pretty interesting type of vehicle. Go with a family of all kinds of eight-wheeler vehicles that started with a Striker on down. So for you wheeled vehicle modelers, that's going to be pretty neat. The next one is Meng is coming out with a, I believe it's pronounced Panzer, but it's spelled differently, S1 air defense vehicle, 1/35th scale. Looks to be a pretty nice vehicle. And what is also interesting is Tiger Models is going to be doing the same subject in the same scale. Tiger Models is actually going to be doing their own mold of it, so it'll be interesting to see what each one looks like once they come out and get some test shots out there. The next one is Trumpeter Models is coming out with a 1/72nd scale F4E A4E Skyhawk, and it's looking pretty good. They have some test shots of that right now, and it looks fairly to scale. It's going to be very detailed for a small 72nd scale kit, so I'll be looking forward to something like that. Next one is ICM is coming out with another 1-153 biplane, and this rendition of it is going to be a version with skis, which is interesting. This kit has been kitted through Revell Germany and a few other Hasgau and a few others, so it's been around. This is just the latest incarnation of it. The next one is Revell as released at their trade fair in Germany. Some new releases. The first one is a U-boat, and it is the 72nd scale Type 7C/41, which has been out before. This is the one with the narrow waist on the upper deck. But the difference on this one is it's supposed to be their Platinum Edition, which is going to have a laser cut wood deck and all kinds of photo etched and turned metal pieces in the kit, which is really nice. For you people who haven't bought the kit and shopped around for all that stuff, you'll be able to get it all in one, and it should be pretty nice and should be pretty well fitting. So we'll look forward to that. Hopefully it won't be too monstrously expensive. Worst thing on that is the shipping, because that model of the kit is in a big box. So if you get it from overseas, check the shipping, because it's going to be pretty high. The other one that Revell is doing is a 1/144 scale Airbus A380 with sound and lights. They've had some of these other kits in their Technic series that had moving propellers and lights and things like that, but this will be nice because it'll actually have a sound chip in there with a little speaker. What's nice about that is you can actually put that in any kit you want. Hopefully they'll market that separately so you can put it in, say, a 747 or something like that and make those have sound. So that's about it for the future kit releases, and next up will be new kit review. All right, this week's issue of new kit releases is going to be a monster of a kit here. This is the Polar Lights 1/350th scale Star Trek Klingon Katinga class battlecruiser. This has been wanted for a very, very long time by many people, including myself. Ever since they came out with the smaller scale one, it was going to be nice to get a bigger one. And then when they came out with the 1/350th scale Enterprise series, got people very excited, and this was the thing on top of their list to have this one, which showed up in the first Star Trek movie. And they wanted it all in 1/350th scale to go along with the Enterprise. So Polar Lights has done a bang-up job on this one. They used the studio model to do a lot of the details in here. A lot of pressure from fans. Got them to really adhere to the details and so forth. And they retooled it many times, as we'll see when we review the pieces, to get it just right for the movie version when they attacked the V'ger cloud. And you can actually see that's not a star, that's actually supposed to be the V'ger weapon that's going to impact the ship. Anyways, monster box, and it's Polar Lights. Side of the box shows it with the lighted up photon torpedo tube, which they do make a lighting kit for this, which is really nice. I don't have that, unfortunately. And there is the side view there. They're advertising the lighting kit there. And the 2 or 3 of them in formation when they attack the V'ger cloud there. And there is a picture of the model itself and the decal set. 2 foot long. It's going to be a monster. Includes the stand and so forth, and it even includes a little resin piece to correct the top of the bridge. So, without further ado, we will get looking at the parts. Okay, let's get started on reviewing the Star Trek 350th scale Katinga class, or K-class Klingon battlecruiser. These are the instructions here, black and white. And interesting is they open backwards or forwards, whatever. It's kind of an accordion shaped construction here. First steps look like you're building the weapon head of the ship and some of the side parts here. And they will actually, as they go, they'll tell you, if you have the lighting kit, what to do to accommodate the lighting kit. Lighting kit uses LEDs. Looks pretty nice. I do plan to do my own lighting kit on it. There are kits out there that have lighting kits and sound effects and everything too. So if you really want to knock this thing out and go crazy, you can see some of the front parts here. Optional resin bridge. And it actually moves along pretty good. There's not a whole lot of parts to this kit, but they are massive. There is the whole front neck, and then it goes into the engine detail here. You can see pieces like this are actually a clear piece where the LED will light up and it'll light side lights, and it will go through the clear and transmit down to the bottom to make this light work. So you have one LED doing multiple tasks with a light tube, so to speak. This is the engine system here. They do give you a clear piece to do underneath here to make it look like it's the engine piece. Painting it like red or whatever you want, reddish orange. Good size. And there's the rear engines. And then they give you an optional photon tube cover, which is interesting there. I don't remember that in any of the movies, but there it is. And Putting on the wing assembly, it's all one piece on the top and the bottom. Doesn't look like any major warpage yet for such a big piece, but it's kind of neat. And then this right here is they're talking to you about don't glue certain pieces if you're going to use their base. Okay, looks like we're moving right along, almost done. Have the base with the metal rod. And here's where it gets a little bit complicated with a lot of the little details in the front part of the rear section of the spaceship. And all the little details there. So that's the instructions. We'll start looking at some of the parts here. First up's the decal set. Looks really nice. Mine unfortunately got bent in transit, but looks pretty decent. And being one of the Polar Lights kits, these should be really high quality. So a little bright. You can dull those down with a wash once you're done. And the next ones up are clear pieces, which are super water clear. Very impressed with that, and they're thin. One thing they did with this kit, which is kind of amazing, is they thinned out all the plastic, made it more like a scale model instead of some of these toy-looking science fiction kits in the past. I really hated that, where they were just so thick you couldn't do anything with them. But there's light pipes and so forth, and engine and window detail. It's a very, very clear plastic, which some of them, if you're going to use LEDs, you probably want to frost, so just sand them with some really fine sandpaper on the back. Okay, next up is the upper rear wing, if you want to call it that. And as you can kind of see, there is just all kinds of relief detail. I mean, and the scribe lines are incredible. Again, a big change from some of the other science fiction kits where they're real soft plastic. This is more like the Gundam kits where they're very sharp engravings and so forth. First time I've seen it on it. I hope they stick with it. It's pretty awesome. And there's the other side, and then this is the bottom part of the front head section. But you can see how big this thing is going to be. Just looking at it like that. Okay, next up is the same piece but the bottom, and it actually has this front plate on it, so there's no risk in getting that crooked and having the whole spacecraft messed up. It's actually already molded on there in that kind of that strange bevel type area. Again, lots of relief detail, lots of windows and things like that. There's the bottom of the ball section there. But yeah, this detail here is just so incredible. I mean, it's gonna be so nice to weather. I have seen a few of these weathered up already and look really, really good. Next up, I won't take it out of the package, but it's the base. Kind of moon-shaped base, the metal rod, and then it does come with the little resin bridge cone. That's the corrected one. They do give you it in plastic too if you don't want to mess with the super glue. Okay, next tree. This is the engine set, and like I said, I'll have close-ups of this later on. So real fine detail. There's actually texture there, and engines big enough to put all kinds of lighting and whatever you want into them. There's the engine, rear engine pieces, and some of the vents, and then the rear photon tube, which is again got all kinds of grill pieces and just, I mean, incredible detail. Now if they could just go back and retool the Enterprise to have that sharper detail, we'd be all set. But sometimes you can't turn back the hands of time. All right, next up is the neck and the ball. And again, you can see all the super small details here. There's the engine piece, which actually with the lighting kit, this actually comes off. It's actually snapped on there. Underneath it is all the power system that you use, a 9-volt battery and so forth. There's the top with the grill, and then the top of the right below the bridge section there. And if this looks familiar to you, I don't know if you remember, but on the old 1/5/70th kit, which actually is not a bad kit, it's actually very well done. This piece with the engines on it was used in Star Trek V, I think, the one with the whales, and it was actually used as the device that McCoy put on Chekhov's head to fix his arteries in his brain. And it was kind of funny that they actually used a model part as a prop in the movie. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it kind of worked out pretty interesting. And the next one has the pieces for the windows here. This one goes out on the front of the below the bridge on the little ball section. Here's all the fine details. I mean, really fine, down to like almost some of these armor kit refining. Super nice. And they didn't even have to do any slide molding on this as far as I've seen so far. They just really engineered it very well. Below the neck area here's the lower ball section. And then this actually is behind the engines, and I found out that although they've never shown it in any of the films, this is actually a shuttle bay. What a Klingon shuttle looks like, who knows? I don't think they ever showed a Klingon shuttle in any of the movies. So anyways, below the bridge section, that's probably the finest detail of all the ship, and I'll get a good close-up of that. It's hard to see in black because of just being black, but I'll get some close-ups of that too. And that is it for that kit. All right, for this modeling techniques, it's going to be a quick one, but the important one. A lot of people, and some of you may know how to stretch sprue. Pretty simple action, but there actually are some tricks to making the stretch sprue wire look better and why it fails. So I will show you some of the tricks and reasons why certain things do what. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a candle. Usually get something that won't tip over, and I'm going to light this up. Okay. Alrighty. So now we'll take it out here a little bit. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do to prep the sprue is, believe it or not, the runners on your models have a mold seam going down them, and they will actually, that mold seam can mess up your sprue and make it so it's not completely round. So what you want to do first is you want to scrape it down with a knife or with a sanding stick and get rid of that line, because what is actually on this piece of runner will replicate, believe it or not, once you stretch it out. So this will help make it quite a bit nicer. The other thing is, if you do a piece that's flat or half round like this one, it will actually stretch out half round. So I'll show you that. We'll put it over the candle here, rotating it, getting it soft on all sides. And then when I go to stretch it and let it cool, it actually has a flat side to it. And I'll show you a close-up of that right now. Alrighty, here's the flat piece. And if you can see it as I turn it, you can actually see that the sprue stretched flat. You'd think it would go to a round shape, but it actually doesn't. So you can actually get flat plastic that way too. But just so you know, the shape, if it's triangular or shaped differently, like some of the Tacom kits have that kind of parallelogram looking runner, it'll do that when you stretch it. So if that's what you want, there you go. So next up we will do a regular stretch. Okay, we're going to light the candle again. Okay. And if you're a youngster, get your parents' help doing this because you are dealing with a flame. So, alrighty, so I've taken this piece here and I've scraped it. I scraped it smooth. Now you think just melting it and pulling it apart is what you want, which works fine. But there's a way to get it more consistent. Is basically you will rotate this around the flame. Making sure it gets nice and gooey, not too much. You'll see it get kind of glossy. Okay, trick is you push it together first and then slowly pull it apart. And that actually will get you a pretty consistent sprue run. Kind of see it there. Okay, for you guys who want to do rigging and so forth, where you want the wire or sprue to be really thin but really strong, I'll show you how to do that. Basically, I've got the sprue which I have scraped down here, and make sure it's a long piece, that way you can get it really melty. And I'm going to get it really soft. Okay. Going to push it together just a slight bit, and then I'm going to move pretty quick. Okay. And a friend of mine and I did this one time, and we got basically we heated it, and I grabbed the piece and walked really fast away from it. We got 30 feet of sprue or sprue wire out of it. So, alrighty, now I'll show you some close-ups. Alrighty, here's the piece that I did a little slow, just to get a little thicker. And as you can see, by pushing the heated sprue together and then pulling it, it came out pretty consistent. I mean, it's tapers here, but you can see that this section right here is really consistent. I mean, there's hardly a taper at all that's even noticeable. So, and of course you can bend it and do all kinds of stuff with it. The other piece, this one here, which is just the rigging wire, basically. You can see it's kind of hard to see, but it's consistent as well. And the nice thing is it's pretty strong. I mean, I can break it, but it starts to stretch first. I'll put some good tension on it. There we go. So it takes a bit to break this stuff. So anyways, that's the in and outs of stretching sprue. And up next is new gear. All right, time for the new gear section of the news program. And this week I'm going to be showing you these little guys, which have been around a little while in the art community. Not too long, but basically what they are is a brush that has a rubber nib on it, and they're different angles and different sizes. Some are round, some are chisels. And And what these are made for is applying different things like charcoal. They can actually smear stuff or just work like a regular brush at lining stuff. But they're flexible on the tip. You can see here, let me get you a close-up of the tip here. And you can see that they're flexible. And they're kind of neat little tools. Like I said, there's tons of different versions of this. This particular one is called a color shaper. And is available at most art supply stores or online. Just make sure that it is a soft rubber tip. They're usually gray or black. What's nice about this is for applying pigments and so forth. And widen out here a little bit. And I'll take my pastel set here, and we'll try the black so it's easy to see. And basically you're just going to, this pastel gets everywhere, dip it into the pastels, and then you can basically just draw with it for weathering if you want panel lines or you want to go underneath a section of your model. And then you can actually blend them out. So you can wipe it off and then just blend the pastel chalk or pigment or whichever you're doing. And then it'll just clean this stuff off. And then you can use just hot water to clean them. If you want to, most of the pastel will come off if you just keep wiping it off on something. But yeah, really neat for outlining stuff. And the other nice thing about this is you can actually, if you're working on road wheels on a tank that are steel road wheels, you can actually use this to polish the metallic pigment powders by putting it on, or even graphite, and then by just moving it and polishing it over and over again, it will actually shine it up because it's a soft enough surface and it won't tear off the pigment that you have there. So that's the new tool, kind of a quick one, but kind of a handy item. These usually run about $2 to $8 depending on which type you get. Worth picking up just to have your extra tool in your box. Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you for the support of this channel. Always trying to get more viewers and trying to get people some of the information out there. And by doing that, we have these items on the mousewerx.com website to help support the channel. Different modeling tools. These are the sanding sticks that are round sanding tools for getting rid of knockout pins. And this is actually called prop wash, but it's actually a degreaser and de-static system. So when you paint like a model car, something that's real glossy, and you want to make sure there's no static electricity to get hair on it, wipe it down with this stuff, gets rid of the grease, and then keeps it static free for at least long enough to get the car painted. But as always appreciate the support, and please spread the word. Thanks for visiting, and keep on building.